Hey there, and welcome back to Tabletop Witchcraft. This week we got another bonus video where I'm going to go over and discuss the advanced tools. Last week we did the basic tools. This week I'm going to go over some items that I think you probably shouldn't pick up for at least a good 6 months plus once you've jumped into crafting. That way you can make sure you really enjoy the craft, you enjoy what you're doing, it's not stressing you out, and it's something you want for the long haul. Because some of these investments that I'm going to show you can get a little bit pricey, and you don't want to spend all this money if it's something that's going to just burn you out or something you're really not that interested in. So I approached this video much like I did the last one. Kind of just went through a bunch of the different items here that I typically use on a regular basis when I'm crafting, but again on the more advanced end of the whole thing. So the very first tool that I recommend you pick up once you know you really are into it and you love crafting is the Proxxon. I'm sure you've heard about this, you've seen it everywhere. This never leaves my desk. It's always on the desk here, and now that I have it, I do make a lot of the easy basic cuts that you can do with like an alpha knife with this tool because it's very easily accessible. I keep it right here and I'm always cutting on it. They do make a foot pedal. I don't own that yet. Because of some of the jigs that I bought for the Proxxon, I'm actually thinking about picking one up. It allows you to turn the Proxxon on and off just by stepping on it. So that might be a new pickup for me in the future. But the Proxxon, very important pickup for an advanced tool. The next thing you'll want to pick up, the Proxxon comes with this jig here just for making your straight cuts. Now this fence is okay, but I'm not a huge fan of it, and I very rarely use it. I do use it for special cuts in conjunction with this jig right here, which is the High Fence by Shifting Lands. This is, I believe, his first model that he came out with, but he does have a newer version where he made some adjustments to. He's always improving his projects, so if you haven't, go to shiftinglands.com, check out his products. I've got a few of them here. So the High Fence, it allows you to make really nice cuts with taller pieces of foam right on your Proxxon. Alright, while we're on the subject of jigs, the next one you might want to pick up would be this circle cutter. Very easy, you slide it onto the Proxxon, it's got a little pin here, you put your foam on, you can spin the foam. Now you can make cylindrical cuts on the Proxxon. This jig in particular, you can see it's pretty easy and self-explanatory how to make it. You just need a little piece of MDF or wood here to go on the rail on the Proxxon. But other than that, this is the shape you cut out, and you got yourself a circle cutter. Again, you could go to Shifting Lands and pick this up if you want. Next, I did a video on this, while we're on the subject of jigs, would be the dome cutter for the Proxxon. It comes with, it's all disassembled. You got to put it all together. I have a video. I'll put a link above if you want to check that out on how to put it together in a little demo. But this is a really cool jig for making any type of dome, and you can get really creative. Not necessarily just a round dome, but all kinds of cool shapes. So another cool jig to have in the arsenal. He's got a whole bunch. I've got a couple more on my list. We'll get there at some point, I'm sure. Will end up in my shop. But the next item. Now this one is sort of like in between basic and advanced, okay? Green stuff. You see I use this in a lot of my videos. It can be used anywhere from filling in cracks on a build, on a miniature, to straight up crafting and sculpting with it. I've done videos on how to craft rats and stuff like that, straight up just using this stuff right here. So very useful epoxy putty tape to have. Alright, let's see. Next, we got these, you hear me say crafting, not crafting, but clay sculpting tools a lot in my video. And I've got a set of wooden ones that I beat those things up. I use those, literally crafting for poking holes in clay or foam or adding texture or working with clay. But when you start getting into working with clay in general, picking up a good set of tools like this, clay sculpting tools for that, is a good thing, I think. I'm new to working with clay. I just started working with it maybe 2-3 months ago, started dabbling with it. I found these to be very helpful. Again, a couple of videos. I'm not going to link everything, but just go through the library. I made a tree out of some oven baked clay. I used these. I made all my sewer series videos. At one point or another, I use these tools in it, so very helpful. All right, next. This one might be more along the lines of miniature painting, but 100% can be used for terrain and crafting. Would be an airbrush. I use an Iwata Eclipse HPCS airbrush. I bought this a while ago in conjunction with this compressor. Came with a couple other little things like some paint and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun to work with, a lot of fun to play with. It's one of those things though, if you're not using it a lot, it can definitely get easy to kind of forget how to clean certain parts, what the right paint ratios are when you mix in to thin the paints down, stuff like that. There are ways around that to make things easier, like buying straight up airbrush paint. I don't have two separate lines of paint. I've got my miniature paints and I thin those down. And I definitely don't use my miniature paints on large craft builds. I go to craft paint, and I'm not sure if craft paint's the best thing to be running through the airbrush. You can, I don't know. Anyway, it's a good tool to pick up and use on occasion. I actually used it in a video that's coming out in a couple of weeks, so you see it there. If you have an airbrush, I recommend picking up one of these masks. Very important, that way you're not breathing this stuff in. Acrylic paint, isn't considered, a poisonous material, right? But you still don't want to be breathing this stuff in. You'll notice when you start airbrushing, a lot of that, that gets atomized. It's in the air. You can literally see it. You can almost taste it. So if you don't have one of these on, so I recommend, protection. Very important. At some point in the studio, I'm going to put a hood in where I can get everything sucked out of here. The bad part is, I hope my wife doesn't watch this video. We just redid our whole basement. I just put this studio in, and now I got to poke a hole through the ceiling and put a hood in. So I wish I would have did that a while ago. But anyway, off topic. Next, super glues and accelerants. When I'm crafting, I hate spending time waiting for glue to dry. If I can go ahead and glue something fast and keep moving, that's what I like. So you notice on a lot of my videos, I use hot glue. When I can use super glue, I always use it. It's tough when you're working with foam because it eats right through the foam, but in small amounts, you'd be safe. If you're gonna work with super glue, you have to pick this up. It's absolutely amazing. It sounds weird, it kind of smells good. Not that I'm sniffing this stuff, it's the overspray, you can really smell it. It's kind of sweet smelling. It's called Instaset, and when you spray this onto the super glue, it almost instantly hardens, and you can keep moving. So it's a very preferred method for me when I can use super glue to use it. And you can also attach, put a little bit of super glue on one piece that you're working on, and then put this Instaset on the other, and then just touch them together, and you don't have to spray it. And it's a great way to keep moving forward. You'll see that in this week's video coming up. All right, next we have resins. So I use this Envirotex Light 2-part resin here. I've used it in my river tile video. I've used it in my sewer videos. I don't recommend jumping right into resin, but if you want to, go ahead. It's nice to have this stuff around, and I use enough of it that this is actually my second big set of this stuff. So they do sell it in smaller bottles where you can pick them up like this. They come with 2 of these, and when you mix this stuff, you want to make sure you mix it by volume and not the viscosity, meaning mix it in clear containers where you can see that the volume, the level is exactly the same. Don't try and weigh it out on a scale, because the resin and the other part of this is they don't weigh the same. So if you weigh them out on a scale, you're going to be messing up your ratios. So keep that in mind. I forgot. The hot wire knife. I meant to mention this earlier with the Proxxon. This is a great little tool. In my opinion, they're not really made that well. You can pick these up for like 30 bucks. All the items here you'll find in the description below to Amazon for the links if you want to head over there and check that out. I do get a little commission from it at no extra cost to you. A little disclaimer there. But this is a great tool to have when you need it. I don't use it a lot, but when I need it, I'm super happy that I have this. It comes with a couple different attachments. One almost like the Proxxon table, a large. I'll just pull it out right here. Like a span right here, we can kind of hook this up, and then you can kind of carve your foam. And it comes with a couple other little attachments here that I do use, but I've been kind of mangling them over the years. Like this guy, I've actually had to rebend and fix the top on it for poking holes or whatever the heck you got to do. All right, next we're going to jump right back into resins, and we're going to talk about UV resin. This stuff is really great, again, when you're trying to cut down and reduce the amount of time you're spending on waiting for things to cure or dry. This type of resin dries clear. You can put it on, if you're trying to make icicles or a water effect. Anything that you want some type of crystalline, watery effect. You put this on it, you hit it up with this UV light for maybe a minute or so, not even, and it hardens and you can keep moving. So it's a really cool, fun resin to have. Not necessarily super important. I don't use it all the time. But again, it's one of those things that's really nice to have when you need it. All right, next is going to be the pin vise. This is more used for miniatures, but I definitely use it a lot as well when I'm working with terrain. It comes with a whole bunch of little bits here, and when you don't want to use a power tool, you want a little bit more precision and accuracy, you can use this to drill holes through clay, foam, metal, whatever you got to do. So again, if you have to drill little holes and stuff, if you want to insert, if you're making a tree and you want to insert limbs or branches, stuff like that, this is a really good precision tool to have. Next is going to be some files. Files are always good for a whole bunch of different things. Again, I use these a lot when I'm working with miniatures, but these can be used to file down little areas in the green stuff once that's cured. You can use it to file down XPS foam if you're doing that as well. Although you got to be careful of little particles of the foam. Once you do that, you don't want to breathe those in. All right, a large T-square. This is really important, and I use it a lot when I'm working with 2-inch XPS foam. To lay this out and cut across the foam is very important to get nice straight cuts. That's pretty much the only thing I use it for, but when you're working with larger foam, it's definitely important. All right, just a few items left. I want to talk about pigments. Again, you've seen me talk about pigments in my sewer videos. You can pick up this Vallejo set right here, 4 different colors. These work really well when you're trying to put in grout lines or dirty something up, right? When you're working with buildings or stucco. You can use these to make certain types of washes. You see I use these when I make a rust wash. I'll use this guy right here, which is a burnt umber. I mix that with some red paint and some airbrush thinner. Makes a really good paint rust effect. So pigments, nice to have. And then a bunch of other Vallejo effects here, like thick mud. You see me use this a lot for ground cover, as well as in my 1-inch scatter terrain video where I use this stone texture. Really cool, fun product to have. And then when you're working with any type of resin and you're doing any water effect, it's always good to have a couple of these different options. This is the Vallejo water texture, and this is the Vallejo water texture, the acrylic, almost like a glue. It's what it looks like, really. This is more liquid here, so you can get better flow. This is if you're doing ripples in the water, and this is for like really just water effect. I use these all the time whenever I'm doing a water effect. Again, I got a video coming out soon where you're going to see me using both of these. I use them all the time. So, and then finally, we'll jump into some texture rollers. Again, a time-saving thing more than anything else. These two I made by myself. I got the idea from Gerard Boom over at Shifting Lands. He sells these, but he recommends people to try and make them their own. So that's what I did. I got a video on how to make this guy right here. Use these all the time. I use these all the time. I absolutely love them. I picked a couple up here from another company, these are more for like clay. They do work on XPS foam, but not as great. Let's see. And yeah, I mean, that's about it for the more advanced tools. Again, I don't recommend picking these up until maybe, you're a good 6 months in and you want to start getting outside the realm of just straight up foam, right, or cardboard. A lot of these tools are, they're fun to have, but not necessarily, you don't need them. All right, so I hope you're enjoying the bonus videos that I've been putting out. I'm not sure how many of these I'm going to do. I got some ideas for a few other ones, but if you find these useful, let me know in the comments below. Maybe I'll throw a few more of these out. Consider liking the video, subscribing, head over to my Patreon, check that out. I got a few cool tiers over there for some options you can check out, from picking up some of my plans, where I'll actually email those to you, to my private Facebook page, Tabletop Witchcraft's Coven, and Discord chats as well. All right, till next time, I'll see you around.